The air smelled of charred ribs and cheap cola mixed with backyard smoke. I should have known better than to come. Family barbecues at Mom's house always ended the same way, with Liam turning everything into his personal comedy show at my expense. But I came anyway, hoping this time would be different. I was halfway through my pulled pork when I saw him coming toward me with that grin. The one that said trouble was about to happen. My older brother Liam stood 6 feet tall with confidence he hadn't earned, holding a red plastic cup filled with dark cola. The ice clinked as he walked, and everyone turned to watch. "Hey, little sis," he said loudly enough for the whole yard to hear. "You look hungry. Let me help you out." Before I could move, he tipped the cup over my plate. Splash! The sticky brown liquid poured over everything, my salad, my meat, my potato salad. The fizz mixed with barbecue sauce, creating a disgusting swamp on my paper plate. The sweet smell of cola syrup burned my nose. Everyone laughed. Mom covered her mouth, trying not to smile. Dad shook his head but said nothing. Liam's wife Amanda giggled into her hand. Even the neighbors watching from the fence chuckled like this was normal entertainment. "Lick it clean, Miss Perfect," Liam shouted, holding his stomach from laughing so hard. "Maybe it'll taste better with some sugar on it." The humiliation burned hotter than the grill beside me. That smell, burnt sugar mixed with shame, stuck in my throat like smoke. I looked at my ruined plate, at my brother's face twisted with cruel joy, at my family who thought this was funny. I set down my fork carefully. My voice came out quiet, steady, cold. "You'll regret that, Liam." He laughed harder. "What are you gonna do? Cry to Mom?" I stood up slowly, wiping sticky cola from my hands. "You'll see. The thing is, it wasn't new. This wasn't the first barbecue, the first holiday, or the first family gathering where Liam made me the joke. It had been happening since we were kids, and somehow it only got worse as we grew up. When I was 16, I'd saved $2,000 from my part-time job at the grocery store. Every Friday night, every Saturday morning, every Sunday afternoon, I worked while Liam hung out with friends. I'd saved that money for a laptop I needed for college applications. Liam found the envelope in my room. He took it. All of it. Bought himself a motorcycle instead. When I confronted him, crying and shaking, he just shrugged. "You'll thank me later, Lex. I'm teaching you about the real world." I never got that money back. Mom said, "He's your brother. The family forgives." Dad said, "He's just being Liam." Nobody made him return it. Nobody even made him apologize. At my high school graduation, he showed up drunk and knocked over the cake. At my college graduation, he didn't show up at all. When I got my first real job as a financial analyst, he called it playing with calculators for rich people. He mocked everything about me. My thrift store clothes, look, it's discount princess. My small apartment, can't afford a real place yet? My careful spending, still counting pennies like a poor person? The cruelty wasn't occasional. It was tradition. Expected. Normal. And everyone acted like I should just take it with a smile because that's just how Liam is. But repeated cruelty doesn't become acceptable. It becomes a debt. And I'd been keeping track of every insult, every theft, every humiliation for 15 years. I wiped my hands on a napkin, picked up my ruined plate, and walked toward the trash can. Behind me, the laughter continued. Someone made a joke about me being too sensitive. Someone else said I couldn't take a joke. Liam's voice carried over everything, still performing for his audience. I dumped the plate in the trash, grabbed my purse from the patio table, and headed for my car. Nobody tried to stop me. Nobody apologized. Mom called out, "Lexi, honey, don't leave like this." But she didn't follow. She never did. I sat in my Honda Civic, hands gripping the steering wheel, staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror. My face was red, partly from anger, partly from shame that I'd let this happen again. Cola syrup stuck to my fingers. The smell filled my car. But as I looked at myself, something shifted. The hurt transformed into something harder, sharper, more focused. I'd spent my whole life being the responsible one, the mature one, the one who took the high road while Liam took whatever he wanted. Not anymore. I whispered to my reflection, making a promise I intended to keep. Never again. No more jokes. No more stealing. No more humiliation. Never again. I started the engine and drove away from Mom's house, away from the laughter, away from the family that had watched me get disrespected and did nothing. In my purse, my phone buzzed with a notification I hadn't noticed yet. That notification would change everything. I made it home to my small one-bedroom apartment and dropped my purse on the kitchen counter. The cola smell still clung to my clothes, so I changed into sweatpants and a t-shirt, throwing the ruined outfit straight into the laundry. My phone buzzed again on the counter. I picked it up, expecting maybe a half-hearted apology text from Mom or another joke from Liam. Instead, it was an alert from the real estate app I downloaded months ago when I started seriously saving for a house. New foreclosure listing in your area. Act fast. I almost deleted it. I was tired, angry, not in the mood to look at houses I couldn't afford yet. But something made me open it anyway. The listing loaded slowly, a 3-bedroom ranch-style house with a 2-car garage. Nice neighborhood, good schools nearby, mature trees in the yard. The price was surprisingly low for the area, marked as urgent sale, bank-owned. Then I saw the address, 847 Maple Street. My finger froze on the screen. I knew that address. I knew it very well. I'd been there for Christmas dinner last year. For Liam's birthday party the year before. For the housewarming party when he and Amanda first moved in 3 years ago, bragging about how successful he was. This was Liam's house. For a long moment, I just stared at the screen, reading and rereading the address. But there it was, complete with photos of the living room I recognized, the kitchen where Amanda had served us dinner, the backyard where Liam had installed that expensive deck. My brother's house was in foreclosure. And I'd just found out about it before he even knew it was listed. I sat down slowly on my couch, phone still in my hand, heart pounding. Then I smiled. It felt like fate was winking at me. I spent the next hour researching everything I could find. The listing said the house was 6 months behind on payments, which meant Liam had been struggling financially for at least half a year and never mentioned it to anyone. The auction was scheduled for 2 weeks from now, a public foreclosure sale at the county courthouse. My hand shook slightly as I pulled up my bank account on my laptop. I'd been saving aggressively for 3 years, living in my small apartment, driving my old Honda, buying clothes from thrift stores while Liam mocked me for it. Every dollar I didn't spend was a dollar toward my future. I had $47,000 in savings. Another $20,000 in my retirement account I could borrow against if absolutely necessary. My credit was perfect, never missed a payment, never carried a balance I couldn't handle. I'd been pre-approved for a mortgage up to $200,000. The foreclosure listing showed an opening bid of $160,000, way below the house's actual market value of about $230,000. If I could get it at that price, I'd have instant equity and a beautiful home. But this wasn't really about the house, was it? I called the bank's foreclosure department first thing Monday morning. A clerk with a bored voice confirmed everything the listing said. 6 months of missed payments. No response to notices. Auction scheduled for June 15th at 10 a.m. Anyone can bid? I asked. Anyone with the funds. It's a competitive process. Highest bidder wins. I thanked her and hung up, staring at my calendar. June 15th. 2 weeks away. I could have felt sorry for Liam. I could have called him, warned him, maybe even offered to help. I didn't. Instead, I whispered to my empty apartment, time to balance the scales. For the next 2 weeks, I prepared like I was planning a military operation. I transferred money between accounts, got a cashier's check for the deposit, and researched every detail of the foreclosure auction process. I read forums, watched YouTube videos, even consulted with a real estate attorney to make sure I understood exactly how this would work. The attorney, an older woman named Patricia, raised an eyebrow when I mentioned the property address. "This is personal, isn't it?" "Very," I admitted. She nodded slowly. "Make sure you're doing this for the right reasons. Revenge purchases tend to feel good for about 5 minutes, then become expensive regrets." "It's not just revenge," I said. "It's a good investment. Below market value, good neighborhood, instant equity." Patricia drafted paperwork making me ready to bid. She explained that at the auction, I'd need to be prepared for competition, that other investors would be there, that I shouldn't get emotional if the bidding went higher than expected. I checked my savings account again. 47,000. My pre-approval letter. 200,000. The estimated auction opening bid. 160,000. The math worked. The only thing left was patience. Every night that week, I drove past Liam's house, my soon-to-be house, just to look at it. The lights were on. His truck was in the driveway. Life appeared normal from the outside. But inside those walls, notices were piling up, deadlines were passing, and my brother had no idea that in less than 2 weeks, everything would change. The night before the auction, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, and memories I'd tried to forget kept flooding back. I wasn't just angry about the barbecue. That was just the latest insult in their lifetime of him. I remembered Liam at 16, revving that motorcycle he'd bought with my college savings. The engine was loud, obnoxious, shaking the whole neighborhood. He'd circled the block 3 times, showing off, while I watched from my bedroom window, crying. When he finally came inside, helmet under his arm and grinning, he'd found me in the kitchen. "You'll thank me later, Lex. This thing's gonna be worth double in a few years. I'm investing your money better than you would've." That motorcycle was gone within 6 months, sold for half what he paid. My money disappeared into nothing. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just Liam moving on to the next thing while I worked double shifts to save up for college again. I remembered being 12 years old, winning the school science fair. I'd worked on that project for 3 months, a working model of a water filtration system. I was so proud. Mom and Dad came to see it. So did Liam, who was 17 and too cool for middle school events. While I was accepting my ribbon, Liam grabbed my project and accidentally knocked over the water reservoir, flooding the display table and ruining 2 other kids' projects. My moment of achievement became a moment of embarrassment. Liam said it was an accident. But I saw his smirk. Every achievement, every success, every moment that should have been mine, Liam found a way to steal the spotlight or ruin it completely. The county courthouse auction room smelled of old coffee and paper. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. About 30 people filled the folding chairs, investors in suits, contractors in work clothes, and a few people who looked like they were attending their first auction, the same as me. I sat in the back row, dressed professionally but not too formally. Jeans, a nice blouse, my hair pulled back. I didn't want to stand out. I'd brought my checkbook, my pre-approval letter, and a folder full of documentation. The auctioneer was a thin man with glasses who looked bored with the whole process. He explained the rules quickly. Bidding would start at the opening price, increases of at least $5,000, and the highest bidder must provide a deposit immediately. "First property," he announced. 847 Maple Street. 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch home. The opening bid was $160,000. My heart hammered so hard I thought everyone could hear it. A man in the 3rd row raised his card. 160. A woman near the front countered. 165. Back and forth it went. 170. 175. 180. The price climbed faster than I'd hoped. I watched, calculating in my head, knowing I had up to 200,000 but not wanting to spend more than necessary. At 190, most people dropped out. Only 3 bidders remained, me, a man in a suit, and an older woman with a contractor logo on her shirt. The man bid $195. The woman countered with $200. I'd reached my limit. This was it, either I was all in or I was going home with nothing. I raised my card. $205,000. The room went quiet. The man shook his head. The woman stared at me, calculating, then looked at the auctioneer. $210. My pulse pounded. $215, I said, voice steady despite my shaking hands. The woman hesitated, then shook her head. $215 going once, twice, sold. To bidder number 17. I'd just bought my brother's house. The paperwork took an hour. I signed document after document, provided my cashier's check for the deposit, and arranged the closing date for 3 weeks out. The clerk processing everything asked questions about my financing, my timeline, my plans for the property. You're buying it as a primary residence? She asked. Investment property, I corrected. She typed on her computer, printed more forms. The current occupants have 30 days to vacate after the final sale closes. You'll receive official ownership, and then the eviction process begins if they haven't left voluntarily. Understood, I said, signing another form. As I walked out of the courthouse into the bright June sunshine, reality hit me. I'd just spent $215,000 on a house I didn't need, in a neighborhood I didn't plan to live in, for reasons that had nothing to do with smart investing and everything to do with settling scores. But I didn't regret it. Not even a little bit. I sat in my car, holding the folder of documents. I had messages from Mom asking about weekend plans. Nothing from Liam. He had no idea what had just happened. No idea that his little sister, the one he'd mocked for being poor, for counting pennies, for living in a small apartment, had just purchased his home out from under him. That evening, my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I answered. Hey, Mom. Lexi, sweetheart. Her voice sounded strained, worried. I need to talk to you about something serious. It's Liam. He and Amanda are having some financial troubles. They're behind on their mortgage, and the bank is threatening foreclosure. He's devastated, honey. Amanda called me crying this afternoon. I gripped the phone tighter, careful to keep my voice neutral. That's terrible. How behind are they? 6 months, apparently. Amanda said they got some notices, but Liam thought he could work it out. The bank is moving forward with taking the house. When? I asked, knowing the answer. Soon. Maybe a few weeks. Amanda said something about an auction. Mom's voice cracked. Lexi, I know this is a big ask, but you're so good with money. Is there any way you could help them? Maybe a loan, or advice? They're going to lose everything. I stared at the folder of documents on my kitchen table. The deed transfer with my name on it. The closing date circled in red. The eviction timeline outlined in careful legal language. Don't worry, Mom, I said softly. I've already handled it. You have? Hope flooded her voice. Oh, Lexi, thank you. I knew you'd come through for the family. Let me handle the communication, Mom. It's complicated. But I promise, it's handled. Can I tell Liam? Let me work out some details first. But it's handled. She sighed with relief. You're such a good sister. Family takes care of family, right? I smiled at the irony. Right, Mom. Family takes care of family. 2 days later, the official notice reached Liam. I knew because I got a call from the bank's closing coordinator, confirming that all parties had been notified of the sale and the new ownership transfer. The current residents had been served with official eviction paperwork, giving them 30 days to vacate. I didn't hear directly from Liam, but I saw his Facebook posts. Can't believe greedy investors are buying up family homes and throwing people out on the street. The system is broken. We're fighting this. I almost laughed. The irony of Liam complaining about someone taking what was his after he'd spent years taking what was mine felt poetic. The next day, he posted again, "Need advice, dealing with a foreclosure situation. Does anybody know a good real estate attorney? Some stranger bought our house at auction and they're trying to evict us." Comments poured in expressing sympathy, outrage on his behalf. Someone tagged Mom, who commented, "Don't worry honey, your sister is helping sort this out." That made me smile. Mom still had no idea that her daughter sorting it out and her daughter being the new owner were the same person. I spent that week painting my nails, watching Netflix, going to work like normal. Every evening, I'd check Liam's social media, watching his panic grow. He posted about unfair banking practices, corrupt systems, evil investors destroying families. Never once did he post about the 6 months of missed payments that led to this. It was always someone else's fault, the bank, the system, the mysterious stranger. That mysterious stranger was currently eating ice cream on her couch, watching the drama unfold with satisfaction. A week later, Mom called again. "Sweetheart, I'm organizing a family dinner at my place this Sunday. Just trying to lift Liam's spirits. He's been so depressed. Can you come?" "Of course," I said. "I'll bring dessert. Maybe you can explain to him how you fixed things with the bank." "I'll explain everything on Sunday. Face to face is better." Sunday arrived sunny and warm. I baked a chocolate cake and drove to Mom's house. Cars lined the street. The whole family was there, Mom, Dad, Liam and Amanda, their 2 kids, our aunt and uncle, even a few cousins. I walked into the backyard carrying my cake, and immediately felt the tension. Liam looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, slumped shoulders. Amanda's eyes were red like she'd been crying. Mom hugged me. "Thank goodness you're here. Liam's been asking about the help you arranged." "Soon," I said. "Let's eat first." Dinner was awkward. Everyone tried to make conversation, but it kept circling back to Liam's situation. He barely ate, just pushed food around his plate while Amanda rubbed his back. Halfway through dinner, I saw it, a black SUV pulling up to the curb. A woman in a professional blazer stepped out, holding a manila envelope. She checked the house number, then walked up the driveway toward us. Perfect timing. I'd specifically requested that the final eviction enforcement notice be delivered today, at this address. It cost extra for Sunday delivery. Worth every penny. The woman approached the patio. "Excuse me, I'm looking for Liam Bennett?" The backyard went silent. All eyes turned to Liam, who stood up slowly, confused. "That's me. Official notice of eviction enforcement. You have 30 days from June 22 to vacate 847 Maple Street." She handed him the envelope. "Failure to comply will result in law enforcement assistance." You could hear a pin drop. Liam stared at the envelope like it might explode. Amanda started crying. Mom gasped. "There's a mistake," Liam finally said. "The buyer can't just throw us out. We have rights." The woman maintained her professional expression. "All information is in the notice, sir. Have a good evening." She walked back to her SUV. Liam looked around the patio, his face red. His eyes landed on me. "Lex. You said you were handling this. You work in finance, fix this." I stood slowly, setting down my fork with exaggerated care. "I already did, Liam." The silence that followed was absolute. Liam opened the folder with shaking hands, his eyes scanning the document. I watched his face transform as he read, confusion, disbelief, realization, horror. "New owner, Alexis Bennett," he read aloud. Then louder, "You? You bought our house?" "At auction. 2 weeks ago. $215,000. Below market value, which means I got a great deal." "Thanks for that." Amanda snatched the paper from Liam's hands, reading it herself. Her face went pale. "This can't be legal. Your family, You can't kick out your own brother. Actually, I can. Public auction, highest bidder, all paperwork approved. The house is mine now. Mom finally found her voice. Lexi, what are you talking about? You said you handled it. I thought you were helping them. I did help. I bought the house before some stranger did. At least this way it stays in the family. I turned back to Liam. You have 30 days to move out. You're joking, Liam said, his voice rising. This is a sick joke, right? To get back at me for the barbecue? That was just fun, Lex. The rage I'd been holding back finally broke free. Fun? You poured soda on my plate and told me to lick it clean. That was your idea of fun? I was messing around. You're really going to destroy my life over a joke? No, Liam. I'm going to destroy your life over 15 years of jokes. Of stealing. Of humiliation. Every single time you made me feel small so you could feel big. My voice was steady, cold. This isn't about the barbecue. It's about the $2,000 you stole when I was 16. It's about every graduation you ruined, every achievement you minimized, every time you called me names and made everyone laugh at my expense. Amanda stood up, furious. You're punishing his whole family because your feelings got hurt? We have kids. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my problem. You have 30 days. I suggest you start looking for apartments. Liam's face had gone from pale to red. You really did it. I bought a house that was in foreclosure because the owner couldn't manage his finances. The fact that it's your house just makes it satisfying. I walked to the porch railing, picked up an empty paper plate, and grabbed a can of cola from the cooler. Slowly, deliberately, I poured the soda over the plate, watching it pool and drip. Then I turned to Liam and said, "Lick it clean." The backyard erupted. Mom started crying. Dad tried to mediate. Aunt Susan called me heartless. Amanda called me something much worse. Liam just stood there, staring at that plate with soda dripping off it, understanding for the first time what his cruelty had cost him. I set the plate down, picked up my purse, and walked toward my car. Nobody tried to stop me. But unlike the barbecue, I wasn't leaving in shame. I was leaving in victory. By Monday morning, the internet had exploded. A neighbor at Mom's house had filmed the whole confrontation. The video showed me handing Liam the deed, the shocked reactions, and most dramatically, me pouring soda over the plate and delivering that final line. Someone uploaded it to TikTok with the caption, "Sister buys brother's foreclosed house after he humiliates her at barbecue." By noon, it had 1 million views. By evening, 5 million. The comments section was brutal and beautiful. This is the pettiest revenge I've ever seen and I'm here for it. She didn't get mad, she got the deed. That lick it clean callback was cold. Queen energy. Absolutely zero mercy. News sites picked it up. Local TV stations called asking for interviews. I declined them all. The video spoke for itself. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Mom called crying, begging me to reconsider. Dad called trying to be the voice of reason. Aunt Susan left a voicemail calling me vindictive. Liam himself called 17 times before finally leaving a message. His voice was different, smaller, defeated. Lex, please. I know I messed up. I know I've been a terrible brother. But please don't do this. Amanda's family won't take us in. We can't afford rent anywhere decent. The kids don't understand what's happening. Please. I listened to the message twice, waiting to feel guilty. I didn't. Instead, I felt a calm satisfaction that comes from watching someone finally face consequences. I texted back one word, no. A week after the viral video, Liam showed up at my apartment. I watched through the peephole as he stood in the hallway, looking smaller somehow. Defeated. He knocked softly. Lex, I know you're there. Please. I just want to talk. I considered not answering. But curiosity won. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. What do you want, Liam? I want to apologize. Really apologize, not the fake stuff I used to do. He looked me in the eye for the first time in years. You were right. About everything. I've been a terrible brother. I stole from you, I mocked you, I made your life miserable because it made me feel important. I'm sorry. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Okay. Apology noted. That's it? Just noted? What do you want me to say, Liam? That I forgive you and you can keep the house? That's not happening. I know. I know the house is gone. I'm not asking for it back. He ran his hand through his hair. I'm asking. Can I fix this? Can I do anything to make this right? I studied him, this man who'd made my childhood miserable, who'd stolen my savings, who'd spent 15 years treating me like I was less than him. And I realized something, I didn't want him destroyed. I wanted him to change. Maybe, I said finally. But sorry doesn't fix walls, Liam. If you want to make this right, grab a paint roller. He looked confused. What? The house needs work before I move in or rent it out. Painting, repairs, landscaping. You have 3 weeks before you have to be out. Spend them working. Every day, show up and fix what you've broken. Maybe by the end of it, you'll understand what responsibility actually means. You want me to fix up the house I'm being evicted from? I want you to prove that you're capable of doing something without expecting someone else to clean up your mess. That's the price of even considering that we might have a relationship after this. He stared at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay. I'll do it. 7 a.m. tomorrow. Don't be late. Liam showed up at 6:55 a.m. the next morning. I was already there, having arrived early to assess what needed to be done. The house was in worse shape than I'd realized. Paint peeling in the bedrooms. Loose gutters. Overgrown yard. Fence panels rotting. The deck was coming apart, boards loose and dangerous. Start with the gutters, I said, handing him a ladder and tools. Then the fence. Then we'll talk about painting. He didn't argue. Didn't complain. Just took the tools and got to work. I supervised, occasionally helping but mostly watching this transformation. For the first time in his life, Liam was being forced to fix something he'd broken instead of walking away. The first day, he worked until noon, then started making excuses about needing to job hunt. I told him to come back tomorrow or not come back at all. He came back. The second day, he worked until 3 before his hands started blistering. I gave him gloves. He kept working until 6. By the end of the first week, something shifted. He stopped checking his phone every 5 minutes. Stopped complaining about the heat or the difficulty. He just worked, methodically fixing each problem, taking pride in the repairs in a way I'd never seen him take pride in anything. On Friday evening, as he was leaving, he paused at his truck. You know what's weird? This is the first time I've actually felt like I'm doing something that matters. Not just talking about it or taking credit for other people's work. Actually doing it. That's called responsibility, I said. Looks good on you. He almost smiled. Yeah. Maybe it does. Over the weekend, I drove by and saw him there on Saturday, painting the shutters without me asking. Sunday, he was mowing the lawn, his kids helping rake leaves. Amanda stood on the porch watching, her expression unreadable. When I pulled up, she walked over to my car. I'm still angry at you, she said bluntly. But I'm also starting to understand. Liam's been different this week. More present. More real. Good, I said. That was the point. Are you really going to kick us out? I looked at the house, my house, And the man working in the yard who was starting to understand what it meant to earn instead of take. Ask me again in 2 weeks. The viral video continued spreading. Someone made it into a TikTok series. A podcast interviewed people about justified revenge and used my story as the main example. The internet couldn't decide if I was a hero or a villain. I didn't care. The opinion of strangers wasn't the point. The transformation happening at 847 Maple Street was the point. Liam showed up every day for 3 weeks straight. He fixed the gutters, replaced fence panels, painted every room, repaired the deck, and landscaped the yard. He installed new light fixtures, fixed leaking faucets, and replaced the garbage disposal. The house went from neglected to beautiful under his hands. And as the house transformed, so did he. The swagger was gone. The mocking tone disappeared. He asked questions instead of giving orders. Admitted when he didn't know how to do something. Listened instead of talking over people. Mom visited one afternoon and found us working together, me directing, him executing. She watched for a few minutes, then pulled me aside. I never thought I'd see him like this. Working hard without complaining. Taking direction, and actually being humble. All he needed was consequences, I said. Real ones. Not excuses or bailouts or second chances that cost him nothing. I should have done this years ago, Mom admitted quietly. Let him face what he created instead of always protecting him. Yeah, I agreed. You should have. On the last day before the eviction deadline, the house was finished. It looked better than when Liam and Amanda had first moved in. Every repair made, every surface cleaned, everything functioning perfectly. We stood in the empty living room, they'd already moved their furniture out to a rental apartment, and surveyed the work. It's beautiful, Liam said softly. Better than we ever kept it. That happens when you put in the work instead of just enjoying the results. He turned to face me. I learned something these past 3 weeks. I've been stealing from people my whole life. Not just money. Respect, joy, accomplishments, peace. I took things that weren't mine because I could, because nobody stopped me, because it was easier than earning anything myself. I waited. This felt like a real confession. I'm not asking for the house back, he continued. It's not mine anymore. But I'm asking if maybe, someday, I could earn back being your brother. The real kind, not the kind who makes you the punchline. I considered his request. 3 weeks ago, I would have said no immediately. But watching him put in honest work, seeing him become someone capable of growth, I realized something. Revenge was satisfying, but restoration might be even better. Maybe, I said finally. But you'll have to keep earning it. Every day. I will. I promise. Words are easy, Liam. Show me. That night, I sat alone in the empty house that was now legally mine. The place smelled of fresh paint and new beginnings. I walked through each room, remembering the moments that had happened here. This house had history. My phone buzzed. A text from Liam, you really did it. You bought my house and made me work to fix it before kicking me out. I'm not even mad anymore. I get it. This was never about the house. It was about teaching me what consequences feel like. Message received. I typed back, good. Don't forget it. Another text came through from Mom, whatever you're doing, keep going. I haven't seen Liam like this since he was a little boy. Before he learned that charm could get him anything. You're giving him back something I let him lose. Thank you. I saved that message. Because it was true, I wasn't destroying my brother. I was forcing him to find the person he could have been all along if someone had bothered to hold him accountable. The internet was still debating whether I was justified. Some called me petty. Others called me a genius. One comment stuck with me, she didn't get revenge by destroying him. She got revenge by making him better. That's the coldest and most effective kind. That person understood. This was never about making Liam homeless. It was about forcing him to grow up, to take responsibility, to understand that actions have consequences. The house was my weapon. But also my tool. The means to teach a lesson 15 years overdue. A month after the official closing, I made a decision. I called Liam and asked him to meet me at the house. He arrived looking nervous, probably expecting another condition. Instead, I handed him a lease agreement. "What's this?" he asked, confused. "Option to rent. Market rate, no family discount. First, last, and security deposit required upfront. Lease violation means immediate eviction. No exceptions." He stared at the document like it might be a trick. "You're letting us move back in?" "I'm letting you rent from me." "There's a difference. This isn't your house anymore. It's mine. You live here as my tenant, following my rules, paying on time. The second you miss a payment, you're out. Understood?" "Why?" he asked quietly. "After everything, why?" "Because you earned it. 3 weeks of hard work, showing up every day, proving you can follow through. That's worth something." I pointed to the lease. "But this is business, Liam. Not a gift. Not family helping family. You pay rent or you leave." He read through the lease carefully. "These terms are strict," he noted. "Yes. No grace period for late payments." "No." He looked up at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before: respect. Real respect. "You're not doing this to be nice. You're doing this to keep control. I'm doing this because you proved you can change. But yes, I'm keeping control. Because the second you think you're entitled instead of grateful, you'll slip back into old habits. This lease prevents that." He nodded slowly, then signed every page. When he finished, he held out his hand for a handshake, formal, professional. I shook it. "Thank you, Lex. I won't mess this up." "See that you don't." Over the next few months, something remarkable happened. Liam paid rent on time. Every month, like clockwork. He treated the house with care, making small improvements, fixing things before they became problems. He started working overtime, not to show off, but to build savings. He also started calling me for advice. Real advice. How to budget effectively. How to build credit after a foreclosure. What investments made sense for someone rebuilding financially. At first, I was skeptical. Waiting for old Liam to reappear. But weeks turned into months, and the change seemed genuine. He stopped posting on social media about being a victim. Started posting about taking responsibility and learning from mistakes. The viral video eventually faded from attention, replaced by newer dramas. But occasionally I'd still get messages from people who'd seen it, usually thanking me for showing that standing up to family bullies was possible. Mom hosted another barbecue that fall, 6 months after the famous video. The atmosphere was completely different. Liam helped set up chairs without complaining. Brought drinks for everyone. Actually asked me about my life. At one point, as we stood by the grill, he handed me a soda with a genuine smile. "Promise I won't spill it." I clinked my cup against his. "Good. The last lesson was pretty expensive." He laughed, a real laugh. $215,000 is expensive. The most expensive education I ever got. Was it worth it? He considered the question seriously. Yeah. Actually, it was. I needed someone to stop letting me get away with being terrible. I'm just sorry it had to be you, and I'm sorry it took losing everything to wake me up. The holidays came and went peacefully. For the first time in years, family gatherings didn't end in drama or tears. Liam and Amanda seemed genuinely happy, lighter somehow. The whole family dynamic had shifted. One evening in January, almost a year after the famous barbecue, I drove past the house on Maple Street. My house. Liam's rental. The lights were warm in the windows. Smoke curled from the chimney. It looked like a home, cared for, lived in, appreciated. My phone rang. Liam's name on the screen. "Hey, Lex. Got a minute?" "Sure. What's up?" "I wanted to talk to you about something. Amanda and I have been saving aggressively, and we've rebuilt our credit enough that we're getting pre-approved for mortgages again. We're thinking about buying our own place." I felt a mix of emotions, pride that he'd come so far, concern that he might be rushing. "That's great, but are you sure you're ready? It's only been a year." "I know. But we've learned. We have 6 months emergency savings now. Our debt is almost paid off. We're looking at something smaller, more manageable." He paused. "I wanted to ask, would you be willing to be a reference for us? Your financial credibility would help." A year ago, I would have laughed at that request. Now, I am considering it seriously. "Send me the property details and your budget breakdown. If the numbers make sense, I'll vouch for you." "Really? Really? You've earned that much." "Thank you, Lex. For everything. For the house, for the lesson, for not giving up on me even when I deserved it." After we hung up, I sat in my car outside that house and realized something profound. Revenge isn't about destruction. It's about transformation. I hadn't destroyed my brother by buying his house. I'd forced him to rebuild himself from the foundation up. And in the process, I'd gotten something more valuable than satisfaction. I'd gotten my brother back, the version that had always been buried under arrogance, waiting for someone to care enough to dig him out. 6 months later, Liam and Amanda closed on a modest 3-bedroom ranch in a good neighborhood. Smaller than the Maple Street house, but theirs, truly earned through work and discipline. I attended the closing as their reference, watching them sign papers with hands that no longer shook with anxiety. "We did it," Amanda said, tears in her eyes. "You did," I agreed. "All on your own." Liam turned to me with pure gratitude. "We couldn't have done it without you holding us accountable. Without you refusing to enable us or pretend everything was fine when it wasn't." "That's what real family does," I said. "They don't protect you from consequences. They help you face them and grow from them." After the closing, we all went to dinner. As we celebrated their new beginning, Liam raised his glass. "A toast," he announced. "To my sister, who taught me the most important lesson of my life, that respect isn't given, it's earned. That family doesn't mean unconditional acceptance of bad behavior. And that sometimes the kindest thing someone can do is let you fall so you can learn to stand on your own." I raised my glass, smiling. "And to you, for actually learning the lesson instead of just resenting the teacher." That summer, Mom hosted another barbecue. This time, there was no tension, no walking on eggshells, no waiting for Liam to say something cruel. He'd become someone different, still confident, but without the arrogance. Still funny, but without the cruelty. He and I stood by the grill, cooking together, talking about normal sibling things. He told me about his kid's school year. I told him about a promotion at work. We made plans to catch a baseball game. Normal. Healthy. The way it should have always been. At one point, I reached for my soda and knocked it over accidentally. It splashed across the table, missing the food but making a mess. I froze, old reflexes kicking in, waiting for the mockery. Instead, Liam grabbed paper towels and helped me clean it up without a word. No jokes, no audience, no performance. Just help. After we'd cleaned up, he handed me a fresh drink with a gentle smile. "Careful with this one." "Thanks," I said, and meant it. Later, as the sun began to set, Dad pulled me aside. "When you bought Liam's house, I thought you'd gone too far. That you were being vindictive. But I was wrong. You did what your mother and I should have done years ago, you held him accountable. And it worked. He's become the man we always hoped he'd be." "He did the work, Dad. I just provided the motivation." "Still. You could have destroyed him." Instead, you rebuilt him. That takes a special kind of strength. I looked across the yard at Liam playing with his kids, teaching them to throw a baseball with patience I'd never seen him display before. He destroyed himself, Dad. I just refused to clean up the mess. And eventually, he learned to clean it up himself. A year and a half after buying the house, I made another unexpected decision. I called Liam and asked him to meet me at a coffee shop for an important conversation. He arrived looking concerned. Everything okay? Everything's perfect. I wanted to talk to you about the Maple Street house. I pulled out a folder. I'm transferring 50% ownership to you. He stared at the documents. What? You bought your new house 6 months ago. You've been a perfect tenant for over a year. You've completely turned your financial life around. And most importantly, you've become the brother I always wanted. I pointed to the papers. This is me acknowledging that growth. The house is worth about $250 now. I'm transferring half the deed to you at no cost. It'll be rental income for both of us. Lex, I can't accept this. It's too much. You already accepted it when you showed up every day for 3 weeks to repair what you'd broken. You already earned it by being responsible, by changing completely, by proving that people can grow. I pushed the papers closer. This isn't charity. It's recognition. Tears filled his eyes. I don't know what to say. Say you'll sign the papers and keep being the person you've worked so hard to become. He signed, hands shaking slightly, and when he looked up, his expression was pure gratitude. Why? After everything I did to you, why would you give me anything? Because revenge isn't about destruction, Liam. It's about restoration. I didn't buy your house to ruin you. I bought it to save you from yourself. And it worked. We sat in that coffee shop for hours, talking about the past year and a half, about how close he'd come to losing everything, about what he'd learned. You know what's funny? He said. I spent years thinking I was better than you because I made more money, had a bigger house, looked more successful. But you were always the successful one. You just measured success differently, by integrity instead of appearances. And now? Now I'm trying to measure it your way. 2 years after the famous barbecue, Mom hosted another one. But this time, Liam and I co-hosted, splitting the planning and costs, working together as equal partners. The yard was full of family and friends, the grill smoking with perfectly cooked meat, the atmosphere warm and light. Children ran through sprinklers. Adults clustered in conversation. Music played softly. It was exactly what a family gathering should be, joyful without drama. At one point, Liam clinked his glass to get everyone's attention. I want to make a toast, he announced. The yard quieted. 2 years ago, at a barbecue just like this one, I did something cruel to my sister. I humiliated her, thinking it was funny, thinking it didn't matter. I felt the crowd shift uncomfortably. Lex responded by buying the house I was losing to foreclosure and teaching me the most expensive, most important lesson of my life. Some of you thought she was being petty. Some thought she was cruel. But she was actually the only person who cared enough to let me face real consequences. He turned to face me directly. You could have destroyed me. Instead, you made me work to fix what I'd broken, literally and figuratively. You gave me a chance to prove I could change, then rewarded that change. You turned what could have been my lowest moment into the catalyst for becoming someone I'm actually proud to be. He raised his glass higher. So this toast is to my sister, Lex, who taught me that karma doesn't wear heels, karma signs papers. Thank you for not giving up on me even when I'd given up on myself. Everyone raised their glasses, and I felt tears prick my eyes. Not from sadness, but from the profound satisfaction of watching someone choose to grow. After the toast, Liam came over and hugged me, a real hug. I know I say this a lot, he whispered, but thank you. For everything. You did the work, Liam. I just provided the motivation. No. You provided the mirror that made me finally see who I'd become. That's the real gift. As the sun set and the fireflies began their evening dance, I looked around at my family, functional now, healthy, transformed. The air smelled of grilled peace, not sticky cola and humiliation. Laughter filled the yard, genuine and warm, with nobody as the punchline. My friend Casey found me by the dessert table. You did it. You turned the worst betrayal into the best revenge. It wasn't revenge, I corrected, smiling. It was restoration. Same thing, really. Maybe she was right. Maybe revenge and restoration were two sides of the same coin. I'd taken my brother's cruelty and used it as fertilizer to grow something better, not just for me, but for him too. That's how I learned the truth about revenge. Some revenge you serve hot, in the moment, with immediate satisfaction. But the best revenge? You serve it cold, with patience and strategy and a willingness to see beyond the hurt to the transformation. You don't just take what they stole. You make them better than they were. You force them to grow into someone worthy of what they have. You turn their weapons into tools and their cruelty into lessons. And when it's over, everyone wins. The victim gets justice. The perpetrator gets growth. The family gets healing. That's not just revenge. That's redemption. And it tastes better than anything I've ever eaten, even perfectly grilled ribs without soda poured over them. As the evening wound down and people started heading home, Liam and I stood together cleaning up, working in comfortable silence. He picked up an empty soda can and tossed it in the recycling. Guess karma really does sign papers, he said with a grin. I laughed. Karma's got excellent penmanship too. Very official. And expensive taste in lessons. The best lessons usually are. We finished cleaning as the last guests departed, and I drove home feeling something I hadn't felt in years, complete peace with my family, my choices, and my brother. The house on Maple Street now generates rental income split between us. Liam's new house is thriving under his responsible ownership. Our relationship has transformed from toxic to healthy. And every time I see a barbecue, every time I smell grilled meat and hear cola being poured, I smile, not from bitterness, but from satisfaction of knowing that sometimes the world balances itself out. You just have to be patient enough to hold the scales steady and brave enough to refuse to let cruelty go unanswered. That's the real lesson. Not revenge. Not forgiveness without accountability. But restoration through consequences, growth through pain, and redemption through work. And that's worth more than any house, any money, or any viral video could ever be. Kindly subscribe for more if you enjoyed this video.